Hey, everybody, quick announcement. We're doing a second CMP study. Starting May 6th, it's a total win-win. You get to come into League if you qualify for the study, go through the first 8 weeks of League, which we call the 8-week parenting pivot. It's this incredible deep dive of implementing Connect Method parenting, and we get to follow your progress to show the impact Connect Method parenting is having on parents who implement it in their home. So it's a total win-win. All you've got to do is apply for the study before May 6th because that's when it closes, because that's when we're starting it. There's a link in the show notes, so you just click that link, answer some questions. If you pre-qualify, we'll reach out to you, confirm that it's a good fit, and then we'll be off to the races. So if you've been waiting for an opportunity to jump into League, but you've been hesitant for whatever reason, see this as your sign. It's your time to jump in. I would be so grateful because my mission is to get CMP out to more people. And part of that process is collecting statistical data showing how it works for people in their home in real situations. So it would be such a blessing for me if you feel inspired to participate in the study. And it would be such a win for you because you will be able to have access to the tools to shift from corrective to connective parenting. Now, this is only available until May 6th, so jump on it while you can. And if you're not interested in participating in the study, but you would like to start implementing Connect Method parenting, you want that assistance to guarantee you success, League is open for general traditional sign up as well. So you can sign up that way as well. You don't have to participate in the study, but both will close May 6th. So whether you are entering the traditional way or through the study, May 6th is the deadline, and we're not going to reopen until July or August for another round of League. I don't know if we're going to do another CMP study. We'll just have to wait and see. So now is the perfect time to join. And I just wanted to let everybody who's listening to the podcast know about this opportunity so that you don't go 2 more months and not have the help that you need. And real quick, before we get to the episode, I thought it'd be really fun to share some thoughts from people who just completed this study.
I just can never express how great this has been and how thankful I am. It's been everything. It's been so good.
Like, are we only 2 weeks in? It's like night and day already. There's just been this total shift.
Like our hearts are like so connected. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
I really see the change.
So fun. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So if you're ready to create a change in your parenting, you're ready to go from corrective to connective parenting, I would love for you to come participate in the study, or you can come in traditionally, but you got to get your application in before May 6th because that's when we're closing the doors. And the results, by the way, were so incredible from the first study. I am going to do a whole podcast episode about it to let you know what happens when we implement Connect Method parenting now that we have the data to support that. But we want a bigger base to pull from so that we have hundreds and hundreds of moms that have gone through this study, maybe even thousands. So if you are feeling inclined, come join us in the study. And if you have any questions, reach out to us at hello@connectmethodparenting.com and we'll get back to you. All right, on with the show.
I learned some things that I kept with me for years, like the STEER model, which is a way to see your thoughts for what they are and how they're affecting you.
Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. What's up, friends? I have such a treat for you today. I have Tori on. She is a League member and also a stellar example of what it looks like to consistently implement Connect Method Parenting and specifically to use Connect Method parenting to up-level yourself emotionally. So if you feel like emotional regulation is something you want to improve, if you're like I was back in the day, where you feel frustrated and angry and resentful at the things that your kids are doing and you don't like it, but you can't quite get yourself to stop, you're going to want to listen to this episode because Tori really lays out how she has implemented Connect Method parenting and how it has changed the way she's able to show up first and foremost for herself when big emotions come on. But because of how she's able to show up for herself, how she's now able to also show up for her boys. So you're going to want to pull out a big old stack of paper, big old notebook, because she shares some serious wisdom. It was such an honor and a privilege to have her on the show and to have her be an example of what's possible for every single one of us. I mean it, every single one of us listening to this. If we have the desire to implement Connect Method parenting and we do the work to consistently take the steps to implement, to make the 1% shifts, consistently over time, we will change the way we parent, the way we emotionally regulate, the way we deal with frustrating situations, the way we're able to handle off-track behavior. It all changes. And emotional regulation, looking at our nervous system's activations and how we can allow ourselves to feel the emotion so we can come out on the other side calm and even more capable of handling any emotion that gets thrown at us, is at the center of this process. So I'm so grateful that I had this conversation with Tori and that she really laid out her journey. You get a sneak peek into what it has been like for her. And as you hear her story, I want you to hear what's possible for your story. So look at what she has done, make notes of it, and then go start to do it in your life. Don't just listen to this episode and get inspired. That's great. But what I want to have happen is get inspired and then take action. So write down a couple of things and then go work on them today. And know that what was possible for Tori is possible for you. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited that Tori's here with us today. Tori's in the house. We were just chatting before this about how amazing her journey has been, how much I appreciate being a part of it, really honored to have watched her over the years implement and do the hard work. It's not that any of us are doing it perfectly, but we're doing it and making improvement. So I can't wait for you to hear her story. It's so good. Tori is a homeschooling mom, so we relate on that level. She has 5 kids, but they're all boys. I had 3 and 3, so 6 kids, but I feel like 5 boys probably is harder. I don't know, Tori can tell me. That's a lot of energy. And she's really, really incredible. Tori, sorry, I took over and started introducing you for you, but will you give us any other tidbits that I missed so that people can get to know you? I think it's so helpful to be able to see us as real people with real dynamics, multiple kiddos, all of the things. So fill in the gaps where I missed, because I know I did not do a complete introduction.
No, I think you got everything. No, I'm joking. Yeah, it is. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good to be here with you and chatting about all this stuff that I'm so passionate about. We're so passionate about. And my boys, I don't know if it's easier or not. I know that it is hard. It's a lot.
It's a lot of
It's
boys.
a lot of
That's
boys.
a lot of boys.
It is a lot of boys, with my husband. And then we have 6 cats, which 3, how many are boys? Let me see. I got 1, 2, 4 are boys. So that's,
oh my goodness, outnumbered
I'm
again.
Outnumbered. So that's a lot of boys in the house. Yes. My dog is a girl, thankfully. So I've got.
Oh, good. That's the only girls.
Yeah.
That is a lot. Hats off to you. Hats off. That's big.
I just stay home with the kids. We're homeschooling. We're trying to homeschool, really figuring out our own way around it, what works for us. Otherwise, yeah, that's me.
Let's rewind to when you discovered Connect Method Parenting. You decided to join the group. And I know you've been, I think, twice, right? You've joined and then taken a break and then come back, if I'm remembering right. But what was that like? How did you discover me and Connect Method Parenting, more importantly? And what was that journey like to decide to join League so that you could implement it with all of these other amazing moms?
Yeah, it was so cool how I found you. Really just how Facebook will tailor make your ads for you, based on what you look at and things like that. And all I look at had been at the time was just, I was always just trying to take in whatever I could about parenting, all the different techniques and the styles. And I followed a lot of people on TikTok and, the reels, just followed a lot of things that I could try to get anything I could get from. Something had popped up for me saying you were offering a 3-day workshop, like a free workshop or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was like no yelling. I think it was even at the time, it was like a no yelling one. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need that so bad. I joined your no yelling thing. And what you had talked about was different. And you had talked about our emotions. And I don't know why, but I just had never thought about my emotions. And like you were talking about your thoughts. And it just was really interesting. It was just it had nothing to do with parenting, what you were talking about,
So I thought,
exactly. But it seemed like something I was missing. And I was like, that was really intriguing. So I think at that time, I actually was so intrigued that I joined. You had a monthly membership and I just joined right away. I didn't dive into it or anything. I just was checking it out and seeing what it was all about. I said, I'll just pay for this for a month and just see what it's all about. And I learned some things that I kept with me for years, like the steer model, which is a way to see your thoughts for what they are and how they're affecting you. I kept that with me and thought, that's what I need, and I just followed you on social media from then on, and just all your, you have a Connect Method cohort on Facebook. I just joined the group and followed you on your platforms. And it wasn't until I felt really desperate after just, my kids are getting older, and I just nothing is changing. I took in all the information I could take in, and nothing is changing. So I decided to more than, kind of check it out. I said, I know this is what I'm missing. I've been knowing this is what I'm missing. So let me just dive in. And I invested in a year. It was a big commitment. That's my thing.
You really committed.
Yeah, committed.
Yeah. Was that scary?
It was really scary. I felt like I was going to waste the money, because I have a problem with feeling like I'm wasting money, wasting time. That's a problem of mine. I was scared of, what if I do all this and nothing changes? And what is my husband going to think? It was hard. But it's, obviously we know it was good. So we can talk more about that.
It was good. I know we're talking about it today. So it was worth the investment, even though it's so scary. And I get it, because there's, the reality of, am I going to spend this money and not get the outcome? That's a reality we have to face every time we make a big investment. I'm glad you're bringing it up. So you get into the program, into League. What was that like for you?
Well, it was exciting. I remember just getting all the information, getting the apps, and just being ready to just dive in when all of it. And so it was exciting.
So you get into League, you start implementing, you get the app, you get everything. And by the way, your comments inside of our community were so awesome to read. I always just loved reading your comments about how you had implemented, what your takeaways were. So it was so good. You really got in and you showed up.
One of the first things you talk about when you first get in and you're like introducing what we're doing here is like, you're talking about taking ownership and really just saying, this is mine, this is my work, this is my community. And I felt like I did that, and that made a really big difference. And that was way out of my comfort zone too. So it just felt really awesome to see the impact of what that would look like.
Yeah, you're such a good example of that. I loved seeing how you took ownership for really everything. And it wasn't like I'm blaming myself. It was just a really beautiful self-inspection of, what am I doing to contribute to this situation being the way it is? How am I thinking? Let me get curious. Let me be the scientist. Let me keep iterating on this. Let me celebrate my wins, all of this stuff. And that is so important, because without taking that ownership and deciding, hey, this is what I'm doing for the year, I'm going to try my very best to show up as the best mom that I can possibly be, because that's really all we have control over. Unfortunately, we can't control the kids as much as we wish we could. But, I can start inspecting myself. You were such a good example of that. So that being said, I just have to ask, so you get into the program, what was the hardest thing about it? Maybe like a roadblock or an obstacle that made it challenging. Do you have any memory of that as you first started? I'm just curious.
When I first started, it was easy. I mean, it was so easy to implement. You have it set up where it's so easy to just dive in, and I binged it at first and slowed down when necessary, but I basically binged it all. And I would have these moments where I was doing it all, everything you were talking about and suggesting, and I was posting and I was sharing my wins and I was documenting, and it was so easy because you lay it out so well.
I remember you binged the whole thing. Didn't you go through the whole thing really quickly, and then you went back through it a second time, which was so cool to watch you say, I just want to get an overview of all the stuff you're teaching in here, and then I'm going to go back and go through it slowly. So if anything, I'm wondering if it was hard, if you're like me. I want to get everything all at once. So the hardest thing for me is to be able to take the time, and maybe you have a slightly different take. So tell me what you're thinking with this. But for me, when I want to learn something new, I want it all. I want to know it right away. I want to implement it perfectly. And so sometimes for me, it's just managing my own
expectation,
capability to retain, and to actually implement. And so that's always challenging for me, because I just want to get it all in my head and get it perfect. So when you were binging it, I remember thinking, oh, this is so what I would do. I would want the whole overview and then go back and go through it slowly. So I don't know if anything came up as I was describing that.
There was a lag. I think that was what was hard for me. I had this lag. Yeah. I just started experiencing, life was happening again. I just felt like it wasn't as easy. And that's part of CMP. Never mind. That's just what I'm doing. That's the work.
I think you're bringing up a great point, because oftentimes we get in and it's that makes sense and I can instantly shift. But then to build the neural pathways and have them become our new default, it takes some time. And sometimes that's really frustrating for people, because they're shoot, I feel like I'm going backwards, but I'm not. I'm just doing it like more consistently over more time, over more challenging situations with my kids. And so to understand, oh, that actually is completely part of the process. It doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. Can sometimes be challenging for people if they have an expectation, which we want. Like, I know this, I can do this, you know?
That's like my big struggle is thinking, oh, do I got it? And then it's like, there's new stuff and more stuff, and there's always stuff. And it's like thinking that I'm ever going to perfect it was like my biggest obstacle that was stopping me, because as soon as I would feel like I would
like make a mistake
or
right?
something,
like,
I would think, it's not working. And I would try, and I would, backtrack a little and maybe stop doing it for a little while. And I kept having to come back and forth with that, where I'd be like, no, get back on track. And I would just recommit, and I would mess up inevitably, and it would start the cycle again. So that's kind of like where I struggled mostly in the beginning. A lot more was just going back and forth with that.
Right. So Tori, I'm interested. Can you describe what it was like before finding Connect Method Parenting?
It was a mess, Andy. I was anxious all the time. I found myself judging and controlling my kids. I didn't feel satisfied with my life or my parenting. I felt like I was failing my family. I suffered from depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. I often yelled and spanked my kids in anger and frustration. I didn't know how to handle the uncomfortable feelings that came up when they weren't listening, fighting, or having their own big emotions. So I tried to control and manipulate them to help myself feel better faster, which only resulted in more uncomfortable feelings of guilt and shame for the way that I handle things. I beat myself up to try and change. I felt completely incapable of figuring out how to be a mom. I dreaded my days and rarely felt joy. I found myself overwhelmed often, and I would distance myself from my kids and avoid interacting with them for fear of them misbehaving and me feeling bad and reacting in ways I didn't want to. I relied heavily on TV and video games to comfort and give them entertainment, which only led to an unhealthy relationship with screens. I only wanted to be a good mom. That's literally all I wanted. All I prayed about. I just wanted to be kind. I wanted to be loving. And I just couldn't. I felt like I was mean. I felt like all the time I just couldn't. I couldn't love my kids well, which was kind of crazy to me, because I feel blessed I'm naturally compassionate and understanding, and I love people really well. So I thought it was going to be easy to love my kids. It felt really hopeless, to be honest.
If you're new to Connect Method Parenting, I have a great way for you to get started. I've created a free course that covers some of the biggest challenges parents are facing and how Connect Method Parenting solves them. In an hour, we're going to talk about why parenting is so hard, how to get your kids to want to listen to you, how to stop yelling and losing your cool, and become that calm, confident, connected parent for good. It's the fastest way to get started using connection as your go-to tool for influencing and impacting your kids. Go to cmp.works/course to get instant access today. Man, I think so many people can relate. Thank you for really describing what it was like. I can relate on so many levels, what you described. That was what it was like before. Can you describe for everybody what it's like now? I mean, you've been at this for a while, you put in the hard work, but what is it like now, and how is it very different than what it was like before Connect Method Parenting?
Man, it's really crazy, because I can say that now, instead of feeling anxious and judgmental and controlling, I feel a lot more confident and compassionate and understanding. I don't feel like I'm being held like in the grips of fear and guilt like I was before. I feel like I can offer myself grace and love and kindness for the very first time, like, in my life. I don't feel like I've ever been able to love myself well, and I'm learning that now. I look forward to my days because I understand that everything is for my benefit. I'm learning to believe that failure is not a bad thing. I really struggle with feeling I was failing all the time, but then now it's different in a way that I'm like, oh, another failure. What can I learn from this? It feels like every time I notice something is going off, I grow from it, so I can see that and I have the evidence to prove that. failure's not a bad thing. It actually is a catalyst for growth. I try to see what I used to see as a problem now as an opportunity, practicing sitting in my big feelings and reminding myself that I'm safe and that nothing has gone wrong. And when I'm able to do that, I create a really safe place for my kids to experience that same radical acceptance, which is what they need. I feel confident in my ability to handle what comes up, and I believe that everything is figure outable. I am exploring a new world of presence and play that I avoided before because I was so overwhelmed in my feelings. I felt like I was missing out on everything. I was never being present with them. I'm experiencing joy in that way, in a way that I never have before, just being with them and playing with them. And I know that I'm growing. I feel like it's just snowballing, kind of. It's steady, it's continuous. It doesn't feel like I'm in a stuck, stagnant place. It just feels like I'm growing and I'm just getting to this place that I've always wanted to be for my kids, a place where they can trust me and feel safe with me.
So beautiful. Oh my gosh. I just want to sit here and just let that sink in. It's so good. Thank you so much for sharing, because the contrast is just huge. And you're not saying now everything's perfect and everything, it's just now I'm in such a more capable, confident, resilient place. So thank you.
Totally. It's more, that's the big change, is that I feel confident and capable, and it doesn't feel hopeless, and I don't feel stuck.
I think obviously there's times where we don't always show up at the top of our game, but as you were describing the hope you feel and the resilience, the recovery is faster and the learning is faster. I often say I just need to fail a whole bunch of times so I can iterate and learn all the lessons. So sometimes I feel like I'm in a cycle where I'm failing a lot, but I know how to make my failures productive so that I up level to the next level. And that's when I heard you describe it, I'm like, that's what she's describing. It's so good and it's so real.
Yeah. I'm learning all this for the first time about my emotions, about my thoughts, and that's what my kids are learning too, and what I'm teaching them. I should have learned as a child, but I'm learning as an adult, and that's fine. It's fine. I feel thankful. I feel so thankful that I'm learning about it now. And what I get to tell my kids, some people say, do as I say and not as I do. Yes. I do say that a lot, even still now, but not like that. I don't say that. I say, I know that I'm not always doing what I'm telling you to do. That's because I'm still learning it too. We're learning together. And they do see me learning. I'm still learning. And I get to remind them we're all still learning. We're all still growing. I yelled recently and my 3-year-old said, you don't have to yell. I said, I
love it.
know I don't. I'm sorry. Let me try again.
Oh,
but it was so cute. And it's just,
so
it feels good. Where I used to see, like, I'm totally screwing them up. They're seeing this crazy mom that is so emotionally unstable. I'm really messing them up. I don't see that as a failure anymore. I'm not like looking like, oh God, I messed up again. I'm saying they get to see me come back from that and do better and try again. And I even get to tell them I forgot to breathe. I forgot to check my thoughts. I'm trying to teach them about all that. So it's really fun that we're all just doing it together.
And don't you think of all the lessons you could teach your kids, teaching them by example how to recover when we mess up, how to learn to regulate our emotions, how to learn from our failures. Those are things that they can take into their lives that will change their lives forever, that will allow them to become whatever they want to become because they're unstoppable. Those are the things that you're modeling. And to see, hey, it's okay to mess up, to normalize that. So when they mess up, which they will, to not be defined by it, to not go into the shame and blame cycle that so many of us have done for a certain period of time. That's empowering too, because now they can think, well, it's okay to fail. Failure's safe. I can fail. I just learn. I keep going. Wow. I think that is one of the most important skills we can teach our kids. And the only way we can teach it is by messing up and failing. In fact, last night I totally messed up. I got triggered by something one of my kids said, but it was a very fast recovery. It was like, give me a minute. I just need to take a break for a second. And then to be able to recover. And that shows them, hey, it's okay sometimes. Like sometimes things are going to trigger us for one reason or another. And that's normal. And then the recovery, what a great example to say, hey, I can recover. I can say sorry. I don't have too big of an ego to say, yeah, I mess up too sometimes. That's what this is about. So how would you define connect method parenting? I feel like we've talked about bits and pieces, and as you describe your before and after contrast, it's woven in all of that. But what does Connect Method Parenting mean to you, or how would you describe it?
I feel like it's what was missing. I've tried so many things like therapy and, self-help books and parenting books, podcasts, and all the stuff. That's how I came to find you, remember? And nothing was making any lasting change. And I just felt like I was just chasing good feelings, not understanding that all emotions are okay. So when that piece came in, that piece of Connect Method Parenting, it really just, it was the missing piece. It all started coming together when I got that I didn't realize how I had been judging my kids' behavior. And the biggest thing I'm learning is that the key to emotional growth and regulation is having a safe space to feel those emotions. Like I said, that I am able to create that when I feel my own emotions for my kids. Going through that whole process from start to finish, like I'm giving myself and my kids that, and it's making such a big difference. I can imagine like the overwhelming anxiety I felt when my 9-year-old has looks to me like a panic attack, but what you'd expect from a toddler, just a big emotional outburst, falling on the floor, rolling around, throwing things, screaming, just writhing like he's in pain. To think about it now, it brings me almost to tears thinking about how hard that must be for him. But there was a time, like I can see just how anxious I would be and how I would feel completely overwhelmed, just feeling like I need to make him feel better. I need to make him stop. I need to stop this, like take a breath. It's okay. You're fine. Please calm down. This has to stop. I can't handle this, But I didn't realize I was thinking those things like, what will other people think or say or do if they see him doing this? What is wrong with him? Are you serious? This is ridiculous. I can't handle this. I didn't realize I was thinking all those things. Now that I know that that's how you actually grow up emotionally, like from what you call going from mad to sad, allowing him that space now looks like me sitting next to him, practicing my own deep breathing, paying really close attention to my thoughts, being intentional about what I'm thinking. It would be easy for me to take it personally because he does like lash out and attack and tell me it's my fault, basically how he's feeling, but now I purposely think he is struggling. He needs me. He's not trying to be difficult. I remind my body that always instinctively wants to panic. I remind it that I'm safe, that nothing's gone wrong. I offer him like touch, which he refuses at first usually, but I remind him that I'm not going anywhere, that we're on the same team. I let him know that his feelings, even though they're big and scary, they'll pass. And I just watch him, kind of removing him gently or items from him if he's being unsafe. And I watch and kind of look for an end, just anywhere I can touch or see his eyes or smile at him or just kind of help him soften up to the acceptance and the sadness part of it. And he usually ends up crying in my arms and calming down at some point. After that, we're able to reflect on and learn from that whole experience. And the more that we do that, the quicker he goes through the process. The next time he knows he can rely on me, I'm building a trust and a safety with him that we've never had before.
So good. That is such a beautiful description of allowing our kids to become emotionally resilient, like you were saying, and mature, which is everything.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you would look at him and see him acting like this, you say, oh my God, he's so immature or something like that. But that is actually what it takes for him to mature.
Yes.
Like I can't be so worried that it looks a certain way or it's not supposed to be this way or any of that because it should have been that way from the get-go. But I kind of, if I think that if I would have allowed him that space, I'm not putting myself down. I'm not like, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
No, but you didn't know any better, right? You were doing the best you could,
if
right?
we would have started then, though, by this time he would have been more, emotionally mature because we would have started it then, so we're kind of starting that now and it works out. At least he's not starting like me at 32,
Yeah, right. I know. Or like me so much later. I love what you're bringing up is the permission, that the environment where kids get to experience a whole gamut of emotions, because that's how we get better. That's how we become emotionally resilient. And I love all of the things you're describing. I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. So good. We learn to get better at riding a bike by riding a bike. We learn to get better at feeling our emotions by feeling our emotions and being given space and permission to feel them all. And the picture you just painted, I hope everybody took copious notes because you were spelling out the steps of how you allow him to get rid of an emotional waste. He needs some of it, and some of it just needs to be felt and then released. And I tell the story of the documentary with the polar bear sometimes. It exhibits this so beautifully. The polar bears are getting chased. He gets tagged with a little dart gun to tranquilize him so they can tag him. And then when he gets up, his nervous system obviously was really dysregulated and he was in fight or flight, which is what you're describing with your son. But the polar bear just knows how to, he kind of shakes. That's what most mammals do. And he shakes all and gets all those chemicals released and moved through and metabolizes them. And then he moves on. And that's what you were just describing so perfectly, is giving your son the space to go from mad to sad, to experience the resistance to the surrender of the emotion, and then to release, and then to move forward. And the message it says to the subconscious brain is, this is safe.
Mm-hmm.
This is safe to feel this emotion. And I love that you had this really beautiful real life example. And I hope everyone could hear that, because this is huge. Like, we do it with ourselves first, like you're saying. And in your 30s, you learned how to do it. You're like, great, this is much better than trying to always be happy or be so uncomfortable with my emotions that I can't feel them. And now I get to help my kids start learning them, when they're 9 or 10 or 2, and it's so
It
amazing.
is so amazing. And I was just thinking about the awareness that it just, I don't know where that's going to fit in, but I was just thinking about the awareness. That's where it started for me. The very first thing I did when I came in, I just started getting really aware of my thoughts all the time, aware of what was triggering me, aware of the feelings and the sensations in my body and where they were sitting. And that's all I was doing, was just really just becoming aware of everything I wasn't before.
So good. Tori, that's so good. I remember you've described this awareness to me before that you've had, and it's really incredible. The way you can just sit with your emotions, these really big emotions you're having, and to not react, but to just observe. That's huge. That's a huge win. Huge win.
I remember a time I was just sitting in my living room, and my kids are just being kids. I have 5 of them. I think I had my nieces at the time, and maybe even a little cousin who's 2. I'm the kid person. I'm the one who always has the kids. I've always been like that. That's why I feel so shocked that it just didn't come so naturally to me. Or not that it does come naturally. I just was overwhelmed with these thoughts, But basically, I was sitting there in my living room. The kids are running, they're falling, people are getting hurt, but they're getting up and they're okay. They were
just little
hurts, little whines, little fights. They would say my name, pull at my clothes. It's just a scene of just a lot going on. And I was overstimulated, and I felt like I just needed to scream. I just wanted to scream and scream and scream and scream and scream and scream until everybody was just quiet and staring at me. No, I didn't do that, but I have done stuff like that in the past. But basically, I just sat there and I just was like, man, this is really uncomfortable. I feel it though, I feel it. It's moving. I remember I was telling myself, my body, like, I feel you trying to protect me. I understand that you think something's wrong. Nothing is. I'm like, everything's okay. I remember just telling myself that, but it was so hard. I just remember feeling so overwhelmed. It just felt so heavy. And then I remember just sitting there. It felt so uncomfortable. After it wasn't even long. It was from the moment I started noticing the feeling and talking to it and telling myself I was safe, it was about 2 minutes maybe. And then I cried a little, just a little tear came out. Yeah. And it was crazy, the difference between all of a sudden I'm wanting to scream and just go crazy. But I was able to sit through that emotion until I felt better, and then get up and do what we needed to do to get everybody settled down in a way that I wasn't just like, settle down, because they weren't doing anything wrong. They were just playing. But that was a really cool time. And that's been just my biggest takeaway for right now, is really that emotional regulation element. It was just clouding my judgment for so long that I love being able to see exactly what I'm thinking. Like when my 3-year-old, he hits and pushes on my 1-year-old a lot. And when it happens now, it's been happening for so long that when it happens now, as soon as he does it and as soon as the baby cries, I get triggered to a point where I want to go over there and just spank him or like pick him up. I feel in my body the need to just yank him up and sit him down, and tell him, no, like this is so wrong what you did. And then being able to know that the reason why I feel that way is because I'm thinking he's so mean, or he always does this, or he's never going to make any friends, or I've created a monster somehow, that it's my fault. That I'm thinking all these thoughts in my head, that awareness now that I have, that I could say, no, that's why I feel like picking him up and putting him down and whipping him. It has nothing to do with him and everything to do with what's going on in my head. And so I can approach him and my 1-year-old and put my arms around both of them, because, they both need me. And if he's hitting his brother, then something's wrong, and he's not able to articulate that to me yet. And I need to pay more attention, not to put all the responsibility on myself. I'm not saying everything is my fault or anything like that, but if I'm paying more attention, then I can see the cues and what they need. But I was able to approach them, and just hold the two of them, validate my 1-year-old's feelings. I'm so sorry you got hurt. He should not have hit you. It's not okay to hit. But then look to my 3-year-old and ask him, what's going on? Why did you do that? And he's able to tell me, I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him. Okay. Why are you mad at him? Because he has a toy that I want. And I'm like, oh, okay. You're mad at him because he has a toy that you want. Is that right? Whenever I understand where he's coming from, he is more apt to listen and hear what I have to say. So at this point, he's like, oh, she understands me. And I'm able to get his eye contact. And I make sure to purposely things about him, like he's so beautiful. He's learning, so that when I see him for who he is. And he can tell, because I'm thinking those things in my head about him. He feels that from me and is so much more willing to hear and learn and get the instruction that I really want him to take in. So I think those things, I look him in the eyes and then I pick up his hands and kiss them and tell him how his hands are for building towers and petting cats and giving high fives and blowing kisses, but they're not for punching people in the face. I bet you we can find a way better way to handle this. Let's ask brother. Let's ask him now. Can I please have that toy? And he'll say, can I please have that toy? And brother says no, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. Let's find another way. There's a better way. Let's see. Maybe we could trade him. Let's find something to trade him with. So we then offer a trade and it goes okay. And I leave that to be the lesson.
That was so beautiful, Tori. I'm glad you walked us through just all of the nuances of that situation, because I think every parent can relate to two kids fighting and how do I process that and what are the initial knee-jerk reactions I have and thoughts, and then juxtaposing it with the new beliefs that you've really been so intentional at practicing and creating as your new default that is getting stronger and stronger every time you practice it, so that you can see it in that way is so helpful. So thank you for pointing out all of those little parts and painting that beautiful picture for all of us, because it's priceless. Because so many people just don't know how you would interact when there's conflict with the kids. Sibling fighting is one of the biggest things. People come in and they're like, how do I stop it? And you showing how to come in with connection and how you reframe it with as far as beliefs go, and you're regulating your nervous system to neutralize it, is so good. So thank you. I love all of that. So Tori, for people who might want to try out Connect with Parenting, they're so inspired by what you're talking about and they're hopeful that they could implement this and make some positive changes in their life, but maybe they're a little nervous. They've tried other things, just kind of like what you were saying, tried all the things, feeling hopeless, not sure this would work. What advice would you give them?
Right. If you're wanting to try this and you're looking for it to be a quick fix, then it's not going to. So to change your expectations on that. If you are thinking maybe this could work for me and you're wanting to try it, I talked about kind of dipping my toe in a little, and that didn't really work out very well for me. And it wasn't until I dove in and just said, I'm going to just completely commit to doing this, that I started seeing a difference. And it really has been such a difference. I would say try it, go all in. Being able to fail resiliently while regulating my emotions has been a blessing. That has been the biggest thing. But It's better than that because you set up a framework for navigating through all the difficult situations with the kids that's straightforward and easy to understand and follow. I feel like you've set up a system that makes seeing the results you want in your parenting inevitable if you actually put in the effort. I feel like it's not a quick fix. I think it's the cure for the longing we all have to connect with one another, be seen, heard, and loved unconditionally. I think that it's perfect for someone who's willing to work and to fail and to see all that, just what we've been talking about, just to see ourselves for, exactly where we're at and with no judgment. You learn that, you even teach that, you even help us with that. Like, I'm not willing to see that. Oh, I don't want to look at that. I could be like, I don't want to look at that right now, but you're like, well, look at it. See it. It's okay. So I'm not saying you have to be willing, but learning to be willing, someone who wants to build an amazing bond with their kids and create an environment in which they want to listen, where they value your input and opinion, that this is great for you. And I think that you're going to get everything you want out of it if you actually just do it. Just dive in. I think that our brains want to keep us where we're comfortable, that we're not going to see the growth we want to happen there. And then, say you get started and you're not seeing the change that you want to see. I think there's two ways that you can look at it that way. One is that this way of being is to connect with our kids, first and foremost, they're being who they are. And if we think, okay, I'm going to connect with my kids so they listen better, well, we might have the wrong kind of motivation there. It should be, I want to connect with my kids because I want to connect with my kids. And then they just will naturally listen better. That's one side of that. But the other side is that if you're not seeing the change you're wanting to see right away, that our brains want to point out everything that's not working. And it's going to say, look, this isn't working. Go back to what you were doing. But what you were doing wasn't working either. Recognizing that and saying, where do I want to be? And Andy, you really help us to map out what we want our future and our parenting to look at. And how can we get anywhere if we don't know where we're going? It's normal for your brain to do that. So if you try this and that's happening, remember that I said that. Call it out. Like, hey, brain, I see you trying to convince me that this isn't going to work. But I believe the results I want are inevitable if I keep going. Just tell yourself that. Just keep telling yourself that and don't give up. Remember, that's what we're doing. We're playing the long game and it's all going to be worth it. It really is worth it now. Everything you're doing is worth it. You're just even wanting to make a difference in your parenting is such a good thing.
That was really beautiful. Tori, thank you so much for coming on. At the end there, it was like mic drop. That was so good. The way you summarized everything you said, the examples you used. And I love that the emphasis of our conversation was around emotions and the resilience that comes from being willing to feel them, the impact that has not just on our own personal life, but how we show up as a parent. That was so powerful. And I really appreciate that we're able to emphasize and really point out that element of connect method parenting because it's huge. It's so, so big. So thank you for illuminating that. And also all the encouragement that you gave parents throughout it and helping them know that they can do this too. So I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to come on and share this with me and with everybody listening.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. It was so great. I love talking to you.
I can't wait till we get to talk again soon. Thank you so much, Tori. I loved every minute. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Holy Hannah, right? That was so inspiring. Thank you, Tori, for being an example of what's possible for every parent who decides to implement Connect Method parenting. It doesn't matter if you have all boys like Tori, if you have half and half like me, if you've got one kid, two children, it doesn't matter. Parenting is going to be so much better when we do it from a place of connection, not correction. And I have a little treat for you. After we finished recording this episode, Tori and I were chatting. I had written a song back in December, and I had it recorded by somebody else because I don't have that great of a voice. A lot of my kids have a great voice. My husband has a great voice, but I don't have that great of a voice. So I had somebody else record it. Tori heard it. She re-recorded it in her voice and sent it to me. And I remember listening to it. I was out in the car and it popped up and I listened to her message and it was an emotional experience. So I'm really thrilled that you're going to be able to listen to Tori's version of When Somebody Falls Apart. I wanted a song where the primary message of the song was all emotions are okay, mistakes are okay, falling apart is okay, all captured in the lyrics. And so I wrote down the lyrics. I had it recorded by somebody else, but Tori's version is better. So We're going to listen to that. I'm so excited for you to hear it. But before we jump to that song, if you've been enjoying the podcast and you haven't yet had a chance to leave a review, to subscribe, and you could do that today, that would be so amazing. It helps us get Connect Method Parenting out to more people. Also, I'll be coming back at you later this week with the next installment of the CMP Book Club. We're going to be jumping into chapter 4. All right, it is time to drop the song. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
When somebody falls apart, you don't have to put them back together. Just show them light when it seems dark, and help them find their own strength to feel better. When somebody falls apart, remind them that feelings pass, and they stand up on their own. They will know the strength they have. We are all imperfect. You are doing your best, showing love and understanding. What being a good parent is, it is all about the relationship. We all lose ourselves sometimes. We do things that we're not proud of. Take a breath and be easy on yourself. Exhale and let that feeling go. Safety is the solution. All your emotions are welcome. Stop resisting. Acceptance is the key. Nothing's gone wrong. You got this. You'll see. We are all imperfect. You are doing your best, showing love and understanding. What being a good parent is, it is all about the relationship. It is all about